Hello, and in this video of Dragon Age Origins, we're going to continue on with the codex, just to catch up with what new information we do have. So, Genlock, we did do this one before, but it has some more information about Alpha and Emissaries, which we did discuss before. In any group of Genlocks, there is usually one who is dominant. As the tallest, strongest, and smartest of their kind, alphas serve as a sort of commander, directing or bullying the others in combat. Emissaries. The most intelligent of the alphas become gifted sorcerers with many abilities akin to blood magic. These are the emissaries, and they usually only appear during a blithe. Orgs. Towering over their darkspawn kin, the massive orcs are a rare sight on the battlefield. Traditionally, they only appear during a blight, but some records claim that orcs have been spotted in the deep roads hunting alone or in small groups. At least one report by the Grey Wardens claims that an orc was spotted alone in the Kakari Wilds in 919 Dragon, though it was weakened and easily dispatched. Up to 100 of these creatures can occupy a darkspawn horde at any one time during a blight, often using their great strength to burst through the fortifications and demolish the front line of the opposing army. They use brute force to charge their enemies like bulls, slam the ground with their fists to shake enemies off their feet, and hurl giant rocks into the face of oncoming foe. Melee can be difficult against a giant that snatches a warrior up in one hand, crushing the life out of him, or beating him into oblivion with the other hand. The nimble can try to wiggle his way free, or an ally can attempt to an array of stunning blows on an orc to free the comrade in danger. Grey Warden lore urges caution when slaying an orc. Unless it is ensured that they have received major wound to the head or the heart, it is possible that they are lying dormant and will regenerate to full health within a matter of minutes. During a blight, most Grey Wardens recommend burning all darkspawn to ashes, dead orcs in particular. Harvard's Aegis? Harvard was Malefica's closest friend. They were children together in the same Avar clan. They fought side by side in many battles that Malfarith dubbed him Harvard of the Aegis, better to have at his side than any shield. Mavarith brought Harvard with him to meet the Tevinter. It was unthinkable to stand before his enemies without his Aegis. When he understood that Malvarith was giving Andreas over to be executed, Harvard, unwillingly to draw sword against his friend and liege, placed himself between Andreas and the Tevinter soldiers. The Tevinter struck him down, and Mavarith left him for dead. But Aegis was not as easily destroyed. Harvard lived and made his way, gravely wounded, to the gates of Minerath to stop the execution. Too late. He found only the ashes of the prophet, left to the wind and rain. When his finger touched the ash, his ears filled with song, and he saw a vision of Andraste dressed in clothes of starlight. She knelt at his side, saying, "Rise, Aegis of the fate. The Maker shall never forget you so long as I remember." His wounds healed instantly, and with new strength, Harvard gathered up Andraste's remains and carried them safely back to the lands of the Almari. Lothering. In ancient times, Lothering was more than a trading post that served the fortress of Ostagar to the south. Nowadays, it is larger, serving Redcliffe and the community of merchants and surface dwarves near Orzammar. Its location on the North Road gives it strategic value. So, control of Lothering has historically been a matter of contention between the southern Baron and South Reach Arlings. King Callahan himself stepped in and awarded the town to the South Reach in the Exalted Age, which has largely ended the feud, or at least the appearance of it. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chancery Scholar by Brother Givenchy. Alistair, his mother was a servant girl who died when Alistair was very young. He was raised by Aemon Gurarin, Earl of Redcliffe for a time. Queen Honora, we have been given the gift of freedom by our forebears. Let us not squander it. The only child of war hero Logain MacTier, Honor has never been one to stay quiet in the background. It is common knowledge that in the 5 years Honor and Kaelin held the throne together, she was the one wielding the power. She is held in much higher esteem than her husband by the people of Ferelden, nobility and commoners alike, and commands the respect even from foreign nations. Having once inspired Empress Selin of Orlus to declare Honor of Felden is a solitary rose among brambles. King Callan Theron. He fell in battle alongside Duncan at Oscar. Sir Catrine. Some of us know what honor and loyalty are. Catrine came to Logain's service the hard way. She belonged to a poor family and was out doing work on the farm when she saw a man on horseback being attacked by several bandits. She rushed to his assistance and found out belatedly that the man she saved was none other than the great hero Logain. Though she was hardly more than a child, he took her in, offering her a position with his soldiers, and she climbed through the ranks through sheer determination, becoming the commander of MacTier's shield. Logain's elite soldiers was the proudest moment of her life. Daffy, the mulberry, is clever enough to speak, and wise enough to know not to. Ferelden proverb. Katie Jane found this mulberry in the camp at Oxtagar. His master was killed in the wilds, and Daffy fell ill from biting the darkspawn in battle. Daffy seems to have chosen Katie Jane as his new master now, seeking Katie Jane out after the Battle of Ostagar and warning of an impending darkspawn attack. Duncan. He was killed in battle against overwhelming numbers of darkspawn at Ostagar, alongside King Callan. Earl Aemon Gurin. Nobility does not exist without obligations. We owe all we have, even our lives, to our land and our people. As the maternal uncle of King Callan, Earl Aemon is one of the king's most trusted advisors. Redcliffe was not a large or especially wealthy part of Ferelden. It is a critical strategic location. The fortress guards the western pass that leads to Orles, as well as the major trade route with Ozamar. A well-respected man, though not the most charismatic, King Callan once said of him, "My Uncle Aemon is a man everyone thinks well of when they remember to think of him at all." Flemeth, you are required to do nothing, least of all believe. Ages ago, legends say Ban Corbar took to wife a beautiful young woman who harbored a secret talent for magic, Flemeth of Highever, and for a time they lived happily until the arrival of a young poet, Ozen, who captured the lady's heart with his verse. They turned to the Chasm tribe for help and hid from Conan Bar's wrath in the wilds until word came to them that Conan Bar lay dying. His last wish was to see Flemeth's face one final time. The lover returned, but it was a trap. Conbar killed Ozen and imprisoned Flemeth in the highest tower of the castle. In grief and rage, Flemeth worked a spell to summon a spirit into this world to wreak revenge upon her husband. Vengeance she received, but not as she planned. The spirit took possession of her, turning Flemeth into an abomination, a twisted, maddened creature. She slaughtered Connembar and all his men and fled back into the wilds. For 100 years, Flemeth plotted, stealing men from the Chasm to steer Montros's daughters, horrific things that could kill a man with fear. These Kakari witches led an army of Chasms from the wilds to strike at the Almari tribes. They were defeated by the hero Cormac, and all the witches burned, so they say. But even now, the wilders whisper that Flemeth lives on in the marsh, and she and her daughters steal those men who come too near. Morgan's mother saved the last Grey Wardens from death at the top of the Tower of Ashal. But just who or what Flemeth truly is a mystery. Logain Mactir. During the Battle of Ostagar, he fled the field, leaving King Caelan and the Grey Wardens to die. He then returned to Durham and declared himself the regent to his daughter, Queen Honora, demanding that Ferelden follow him against the Darkspawn, upsetting a great many of the bands. Morrigan. Her mother claims to be Flemeth. If that's true, then Morrigan might well be a very powerful witch from the tales of the daughters of Flemeth. Tell of twisted, monstrous woman who can kill a man with fear. She was made to accompany the surviving Grey Wardens. The payment, Flemeth said, for saving their lives at the Tower of Ashal. Bane Tagain Goran. The Banmar will not bow to you simply because you demand it. Younger brother to Earl Aemon of Redcliffe, the uncle to King Caelan. Thagain holds the Baron of Rainsfeld, a tiny province of Redcliffe squeezed between the Frostback Mountains and Lake Callahan. Ban Tagain avoids the Durham court except to go hunting with his nephew, and rarely makes himself heard at the land's meet, preferring to leave politics to his brother. A note from Sir Henrik. So many of my fellow knights have been searching for the urn. Surely one of them must have found Brother Javinji by now. Still, until I hear that all is well, I must proceed as planned. Brother Javinji holds the key to finding the urn of sacrificed ashes. We always knew this, but I believe I now know where Brother Javinji lies. I have been to his home in Durham and found the trail, and I am amazed that other knights have not done alike. Unless they have, no, it is best not to get caught up in the thought of a conspiracy. Sir Donald awaits my report in Lothering. I must go to him immediately and report what I have learned. Should anyone find these ramblings, all I ask is that he be informed of my fate, and I pray that he completes what I cannot. A note from Sir Hendrik of Redcliffe. Morrigan. Morrigan's critical eye is not reserved solely for others. Knowing or not, she has a simple fondness for jewelry and is very particular about her appearance. The maker. There was no word for heaven or for earth, from sea or sky. All that exists was silence. Then the voice of the Maker rang out, the first word, and his word became all that might be, dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities, and from it made his firstborn. And he said to them, in my image I forge you, to you I give domination over all that exists, but you, by your will, may all things be done. Then in the center of heaven he called forth a city with towers of gold, streets with music of copper stone, and banners which flew without wind. There he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. The children of the Maker gathered before his golden throne and sang hymns of praise unending, but their songs were the songs of the cobblestones. They stow with the golden light, reflected from the Maker's throne. They held forth the banners that flew on their own. And the voice of the Maker shook the fade, saying, in my image I have wrought. My firstborn, you have been given domination over all that exists. By your will, all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever changing. And he knew he had wrought mist. So the Maker turned from his firstborn and took from the fade a measure of its living flesh, and placed it apart from the spirits, and spoke to it, saying, here I decree opposition in all things, for earth, sky, for winter, summer, for darkness, light. But my will alone is balanced, surrendered, and the world given new life. And no longer was it formless, ever changing, but held fast, immutable, with words for the heaven and for earth, sea and sky. And last did the Maker from the living world make man immutable, as the substance of the earth, with the souls made of dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities. Then the Maker said, to you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. From the fade I crafted you, and to the fade you shall return. Each night in dreams, that you may always remember me. And then the Maker sealed the gates of the golden city, and there he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. There in dice 5, 1 through 8. And then just controls left. So that is catching up on the parts that hadn't been read. I didn't realize that when I did go back to do the codex each time that they were going to have more per page, like on the characters in particular, how we've read the first two paragraphs, but this third paragraph is the new one. So if you didn't watch the first codex one, you might want to go back. I did try to record it in order, so hopefully you can get to the point where the characters were. Maybe I'll go back and timestamp each area, so that way if you're looking for a specific thing, it might make it a little bit easier. But we'll see about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and learning more about the codex, and I